Beyond the Rainbow by Jerry Lee Harris. I've got a crazy little story to tell you. One time a year or two ago, after I exited the interstate and was driving those final miles toward a place we've nicknamed the farm, I saw this beautiful rainbow that looked to be located not far from and between me and my destination. Now, I say it was a year or two ago, but in fact, it might have been 10 or 12 years. Time flies. Anyway, I didn't think much about it at the time. Then suddenly, one recent night, I had a dream about this rainbow and what it might mean. It bothered me for a few days. The feeling wouldn't go away, so I finally sat down to capture some thoughts on paper. What came from this is a story about a special place and special people, some living and some deceased. It is a story I feel comfortable sharing only with a special few. Hopefully you won't be too bored. It's just a small dot on a map. Well, actually, you can't even find it on a map, at least not by name. Use of GPS coordinates might get you close if you're lucky enough to have satellite signal. The location is in an obscure valley in southwestern Virginia. It's nestled between two Appalachian mountain ridges which will remain unnamed, mainly to discourage visits by mere curiosity seekers. Some might say it's a place that God neglected. Others might recognize it as perhaps some of His finest work. In support of this latter opinion, what has been widely described as God's thumbprint can be found just over the mountain. If you are fortunate enough to be invited, how do you really find your way? Simple. Travel to that little hamlet east of Virginia's tallest town, then follow the trail southwest. Local folks call it the Railroad Trail. If you travel far enough, the trail's name will change, but the direction doesn't. Finally, it will end in front of the small house of a single neighbor. Keep going. Just beyond, right on the edge of infinity, is a gate. Go through it, and you will most assuredly experience that calming sense of peace and serenity as you realize you have entered a different time and place. A better time and place. A special time and place. It spans 4 generations. The woes of a troubled world are left behind. Turn off your cell phone, for the service may be non-existent. There's no need for a television, no newspapers, no mail, and certainly no shopping. Even radio reception is sketchy at best. And guess what? You will not miss any of these items or conveniences. However, you will find a couple of concessions to modern society. 1, a single overhead electrical line strung to the house on the hill overlooking the meadow. And 2, indoor plumbing. There was a time that even these didn't exist. What is there to do in a place so isolated? If you have to ask, you don't belong. It started out as a place for a few guys to gather during hunting season. But it changed. Or maybe it did not change, while those who visited it did. It is a place where children learn character from their observations of those who have come before. It is a place where lifetime friendships are born or nourished. It's a place where boys become men. It's a place where men become better men, and, as I've been so aptly reminded, it is also a place where men can go to become boys again. It's a place where one can find quiet solitude, but never loneliness. It's a place where the heart can be awed by the wonders of nature. It's a place where troubled hearts are soothed by the loving hand of God. And yes, it is a place where far-flung families can occasionally reunite to strengthen bonds of love and kinship that are too often missing from this modern world. Although the casual or uninformed reader might not understand, it is also a place where men have ugly contests, and Leo always wins. It's a place where the same wildlife narratives have been related for 40-plus years by the same tall tale-tellers, sometimes called hunters. Amazingly enough, the stories change little over the decades, with one exception. The size of the deer and the number of tines on the antlers continue to grow with every retelling. I heard about a doe shot in 1973 that has since gone through a sex change operation and grown into a 12-pointer. It's a place where the fireplace consumes more wood in a single November week than is harvested in the state of Washington in a whole year. It's a place where a lot of financial decisions are made annually around a well-used poker table. Never seen anyone get rich or go bankrupt, but I have seen individual fortunes change by as much as $3 or $4 in a single evening. It's a place where the mayor will never be allowed to forget that plate of beans he stepped in so many years ago. It's a place where Mark learned that when lost or confused in the fog, going downhill doesn't always work out as planned. And if the Jones family members were really pressed, they would tell you it's a place where young lads can sometimes provide the appropriate authorities with an excuse to practice their search and rescue operations. And finally, for a lucky few of us, This small slice of heaven on earth is almost sacred. It is hallowed ground. It is here that those of us living in the present can renew acquaintances with spirits of the past. This realization happens at the most unexpected moments. One can bend over to drink in a sparkling mountain stream and see the laughing face of Carl looking back. Or look up on the ridge and see Harry walking down the trail still wearing his apron from breakfast. I've heard Frank's name carried on the wind rustling through the trees, and often see Sonny in the kitchen cooking another fine supper, or perhaps preparing another special treat for someone's bedtime snack. Flager is out there too, planning the next practical joke while he sits in that tree stand awaiting that trophy buck, or that dog. And while I've surely failed to mention some, they will remind me the next time I'm down by the lake, or up at the Settling Pond, or walking the Bulldoze Trail, or climbing East Ridge, or following animal tracks through Corduroy Hollow, or... They were more than just fathers, uncles, cousins, nephews, grandfathers, in-laws, or friends. Some served one of these roles, and some served many. These were guys that set the hallmarks, the inspiration for those that follow. If the saints have truly gone home, then home must be here in this place, for these loved ones have not really left us. This is where I find them most often. As for the living, there are certainly more saints in training. I hunt with them every year. When it comes time for the good Lord to call them home, I'll know where to find them. Yes, it is just a small dot on the map, but is a dot where even Camelot or Xanadu would pale by comparison. The easiest way to find it is in the heart. It lies just beyond the rainbow. A special few made it what it is, and for that we are truly blessed. They named it Lazy Hollow. A nearby state used to have a widely advertised tourist campaign slogan that read, "Almost Heaven." Well, that state was right. If its next-door neighbor, Lazy Hollow, was into the slogan business, their slogan would simply state, "You have arrived." Whether from the hills and valleys of southern Appalachia, or from elsewhere in this great land of ours, we all have our rainbows and our special places on the other side. I've found mine. Have you found yours?